Do you constantly start new music projects and never finish them?
I'll do it later.
Your hard drive is full of half-baked melody ideas, you've got scraps of disconnected notation paper lying around, and there are even projects you've completely forgotten what they are, like cello thing. In this video, I'll show you what to do so you actually follow through with your ideas, complete more music, and become a prolific composer. Constantly starting new music projects and never finishing them can be really demoralizing and prevent you from ever getting any better. If you hope to ever have your music performed, used in a movie or a game, or even just want to be able to one day look back at all the music you've written, you're going to have to finish more projects. I promise you that if you have this problem, I can relate. I was actually officially diagnosed with ADHD earlier this year, but until then, I thought maybe I was doomed to be a serial procrastinator, or maybe I was lazy, or I just would never be able to stop chasing the shiny new interest. But somehow, despite all of that, I've managed to produce a pretty large number of works and make a living as a full-time composer. So how do I do it? I'm going to give you 5 steps to help you stop abandoning unfinished projects and actually build up a catalog. I've already made a video before about writer's block, and that one was more about what to do when you can't start. So consider this the counterpart to that, which is what to do when you can't get it done. Step 1, gather up all your unfinished ideas and throw them away. Just drop them right in the trash. I've never resurrected an old idea. They just sit on my hard drive and take up space. Coming up with new ideas is easy. It's developing them that takes work. If there was something about that old idea that you weren't able to develop into a finished piece, when do you think that friction is going to go away? Now, I realize this is going to be controversial, so if you can't bring yourself to actually hit delete, at least gather all those files up, put them in a folder, and come to terms with the fact that you're probably never going to go in there again. Step 2, set an intention.
Why am I here?
I'm all for noodling around and playing with ideas to get your creative juices flowing. But when your intention is to go in there and kind of screw around, that's pretty much the result you should expect. One of the best ways to actually have a finished piece of music is to set the purpose of the piece right when you start, and be specific. For example, I'm gonna write a 90-second orchestral pirate combat loop, or you've just learned about the Dorian mode, so you're gonna write a 3-minute piece for strings in F Dorian. Think of it like a painter choosing the appropriate canvas for their next painting. It's not like they just start painting in the middle of the floor and assume they'll find a canvas that fits what they come up with later. But when you start noodling around for ideas without an intention of where you're gonna go with it, you're kind of just painting in the middle of the floor. I'm sure that some people watching this might be thinking something like,
but I come up with my best work when the music leads me where it wants to go.
Okay, if those people are able to finish their projects, that's great. Maybe this advice is not for them. For those of us who don't happen to wander into a finished project, we need to set our goal up front. Step 3, work in stages. The single best change I ever made to my writing process was when I shifted to working in layers or stages instead of section by section. It's similar to how a comic book artist will draw a rough sketch first, then solidify the outlines, and finally add color, shading, and finishing touches. They're not completely outlining and coloring the character's arm and then moving on to completely do the leg. That would be weird. And it would make it really hard to plan out the proper proportions and make sure you're going to tell the story you want to tell. The number of layers or stages that you work with, I think, depends on personal style and context. For me, it's usually a plan, a rough sketch, orchestration or arranging, and then production. There's a great video from David William Hearn where he writes a piece using staff pad, and his first step, after setting the intention of what kind of piece he wants to write, is to plan out the piece without writing any actual notes. He plots out the form, the grand gestures, and the overall experience that he wants people to get from the music. I think this is awesome. I don't usually get quite so specific. Usually I'm just looking for what kind of general form do I want to use, about where will I have my highs and lows, that kind of thing. Then I'll sketch out the entire piece, sometimes like a lead sheet style with melody and chords, or sometimes like on a piano. I'll work out the most important parts of the piece, like the main melodies and lines and harmonies, but not worry about details like what are the wind arpeggios going to be like in the background of the 3rd section. Ideally, I don't move on from a stage until I feel like I've got it complete for the entire piece. The point is that I'm conscious of the entire composition at each stage of building it up. You have to stop yourself from writing 4 bars and then being like, what's that gonna sound like on the trumpets? And adding strings behind it, and before you know it, you're playing with reverb settings and just adding layers and layers and layers until you've essentially drawn a perfectly complete arm that's disconnected from anything else. Step 4, share your work. If you want your piece to feel real, you need to get it out into the world. Posting it to a site like SoundCloud or even just emailing it to a friend is a great way to celebrate the accomplishment of actually finishing your work. On the 12-Story Music Academy Discord server, we have a Share Your Work channel. So feel free to stop by and take advantage of that space to get feedback from other composers like yourself, or even just to show off your latest accomplishment. I'll put the link in the description. The point is that knowing your music is actually going to be heard by someone other than yourself can be a really great motivator to get it done and get it out there. Even if that means just sharing it with one other person, it's still going to help you grow. Step 5, move on.
Just let it go.
Let it go. Forget about it.
I am 100% a believer that quantity leads to quality. I'm still getting comments on my first videos about the audio quality, and it's like, yeah, I know, I've made like 50 videos since then. It got better.
Get off my back.
A piece is never going to be finished. You will always find something you could have improved about it. So if you let yourself believe it has to be perfect before you can consider it done, you're just setting yourself up for an eternity of dissatisfaction.
You know, this is my life now.
At some point, you just have to call it. Say, this is the best effort for me right now, and move on to the next one. Just like how I told you to throw that steaming pile of ideas into the trash, letting things drag on and take up limited mental space is never gonna help you grow as a composer, and is never gonna help you build up a body of work. Giving up on an idea without actually seeing it through is a pretty common mistake composers make. To make sure you aren't making the same mistakes I did when I was learning to write music, you're gonna wanna watch this video here.